So here we are with the 2015 model BEAU RR350 Italian bike. For those of you familiar, this bike came out in 2012. It was a 2013 model, the first time the BEAU 350 came out. So what's new for 2015? Well, obviously graphics are new. They've gone to a red rear guard from the white. Nicely comes with a bar mount this time round, and some changed graphics. Also on the suspension, a little bit of work on the 48mm Sachs fork and shock, largely with sort of oil flow, changes in piston to sort of resist any fading when the things get hot. But the big news is they've now put what they're calling a Generation 2 engine in this bike, and the first and only of BEAU's 4-strokes to go to a fuel injection system. They've actually fitted a Synerject system, a French-made system that, as people may be familiar with, that has done wonders for Sherco's smaller capacity bikes. What's different about this one is it's actually got a stepper motor in it, so that you can actually dial. The stepper motor helps you dial the engine braking out of it. We haven't had a chance to do that because that requires a factory setting tool in order to do it. But talking about the engine itself, it is completely new. I think the only thing that is the same is the transmission from last year. So essentially talking about new crankcases, new conrod, lighter conrod, a new box-in-box piston, new camshaft profiles, you've got new head flow, the cases are completely new, and it is visibly a lot more compact. So how's it go? Well, I've got to say, I've been riding a lot of bikes out here at Damien Smith's Jillaby Test Complex, and big difference for me obviously was I was expecting it to be the engine, and it was. Originally this bike was a very sort of old school, big sort of like roll-on style power, very effective and very easy at getting the thing hooking up, but it wasn't that sort of snappy fuel injection style power that a lot of the Husabergs and now Husqvarnas and KTMs. So my sense today is that it's kept that tractability, still fantastic out in the bush and really good at grunting up hills, but on some of the shorter tracks where you're doing a lot of stop-start stuff, it's really picked up, like I'm talking 20% more snap. So I think that Synerject fuel injection system, as I said, really transformed the Sherco, and I think it's done marvellous things to this thing as well. But look, I'll hand it over to a couple of my other test riders, Damien Smith, BEAU RALSTON and Mark PEACOCK, who all rode earlier iterations of this bike, and give you a bit of feedback from them.
Biggest change, Ian, is the fuel injection system. It's the first, obviously, like you said, it's the first model they've had with the Synerject system, and I found it cleaned up the engine a lot, a bit more flighty, didn't lose its tractability, like you said, but just all around cleaner, like a fuel injected bike is. Just no little misses or anything like that, and yeah, definitely an increase in power. What I noticed first thing looking at it was the plastic subframe, the white parts in the plastic subframe. I thought they looked quite good, something a bit different, and still good looking bike, I reckon.
The biggest change in the character of the engine was the new one's got a lot more bottom, a lot more torque than the old one. So it was a lot more sort of rideable, and you could turn it better as well with the power. It helped me in the corners when we went on the trail ride. It was good in the rocky stuff. It kind of, you didn't have the flat spot off the bottom, so you weren't always trying to work it to get going. So it was, pretty much better everywhere. The thing that stands out most about the ergos on this bike is how the seat and sort of tank is. It holds you further forward than the other bikes. And it feels like the shrouds are low. My knees are on the top sort of part of the shrouds and pushing towards going over the edge of the shroud up there. It makes a good turning into corners, but then when you're coming out of it, it's hard to get back on the pegs and get back in the sort of attack position on the exited corners. And the suspension on this it's a pretty reasonably balanced bike, but it's kind of soft all over for someone my size and weight. Compared to last year's bike, this is night and day better.
The motor, the response, straight off the bottom, the carbide bike had lag. This one hasn't. Very responsive, very smooth. The older bike had a motor that felt like a big 250 motor, where you had to get it up and get it going and rev it. This one is not like that. It pulls off the bottom really well and goes all the way through the rev range on a really good curve. It feels really, really good. It feels like you could really get it going. Yeah, the suspension is, I still feel it's a little unbalanced because it's soft on the front. When you're going through sharp edge bumps and really starting to push the bike, it's the front end tends to unbalance with the back. But out on the trails, it feels really, really good. It's only when you start to push it towards its upper limits that I feel that the front end tends to let it down a little bit, but all that sort of thing can be fixed. They do also run what they call a factory kit that you can get for about the price difference between the KTM and this. And as far as I understand with the BEAU, it's a better set of forks, which would put it basically in the same category and ballpark as the KTM. So, you know, if I was looking at doing something like that, you would seriously consider getting the factory kit with it, you know, and you'd be square.